Welcome to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals, organizations making a difference, powering the good. And with that, we get to kick it off with Sarah Callender. She's the Executive Director for Main Street Murfreesboro. How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Jeremy.
So you all have a long legacy, obviously, of working within to promote the city, to doing so much good. So especially downtown Murfreesboro. So let's start with a little bit of a history lesson. Give us some history for Main Street Murfreesboro.
Okay, so Main Street Murfreesboro is 35 years old this year, and we're part of the National Main Street program that's part of the National Historical Trust. There are lots of Main Street programs in Tennessee. We're one of the oldest. And so we're excited this year to celebrate 35 years of maintaining, promoting, and enhancing the historic downtown as the heart of our community. So that's what we do around here, is to try to highlight the historical downtown.
So it's a lot of promotion, it's advocacy, it's organization, it's economic vitality, it's design. There's a lot that you all do. And obviously it's all built around this idea of helping to increase economic vitality, but also too bringing more business and bringing more visitors to the area. So talk about some of the, when you look at some of the major goals, let's start there. What are some of the major goals that you set in place each year?
Well, to promote the downtown, like we really try to work with the businesses in the 52 block radius that we cover for downtown. It's not just the square. We've got over 300 businesses, so that's a lot of economics going on downtown, and these are all small business owners, so trying to have them work together. Sometimes it's easier when somebody from the outside comes in, so that's what we do. That's what I do at Main Street. Me and the office manager here, we work together closely to just bring the businesses together for, especially during events, to try to promote people coming downtown. I mean, we love for people in Murfreesboro to choose to come support small business, but we also love people in other towns to have a reason to come visit Murfreesboro and choose to come to the downtown area, and then just to know about what businesses are here. I mean, there's obviously shopping and dining, things like that, but there's financial institutions, and there's home improvement. There's lots of lawyers. We've got our courthouse. Murfreesboro is very fortunate to have a new judicial building that they decided to keep downtown and not move off. So there's a lot of business that's happening downtown.
You make it very easy. You have on your website a showcase for those businesses. And as you alluded to, it's everything from the restaurants, the coffee shop, to guitar shops. So you've got everything on that. And then the services and the home improvement. Give us a little bit, when you talk about kind of the tourism side, you also have some arts organizations. What are some tease us a little bit, especially for those who are listening from out of town. What are some of your favorite go-to spots to highlight?
Yeah, we've got some neat, like Gallagher Guitars just moved in last year, and let's say before COVID, okay, they were going to have music events, just small acoustic guitar playing, right next to them on Walnut Street. Walnut House opened up a couple of years ago as a music entertainment place that you can come, and they have storytelling hour. They have small bands perform on their stage, and then right across from them is Whiskey Dick's. I mean, so there's something for everybody. There's family entertainment, and then the younger, date night entertainment. And Jack Brown's and Wall Street, they have music. So there's a lot of places you can go for entertainment downtown. And then there's also just a lot of coffee shops and things like that. As far as museums, our building is the Heritage Center. And so we're part of, with MTSU, there's a little museum, and you can kind of get the history of Rutherford County, and you can do a walking tour or have the students at MTSU will do tours for free. So we've got people from all over the country that are traveling through that come to the Heritage Center and do tours of downtown Murfreesboro. So that's a neat part. And our courthouse, they're renovating it actually to open the whole downstairs of the courthouse to be a museum that will house a lot of historical artifacts for Rutherford County.
You mentioned obviously before COVID, and now that we're in the middle, obviously, of the pandemic, a lot has changed, including a lot of the larger community events that you typically would host. And so, talk about kind of in a normal calendar what some of the big events would be, and then obviously some of the adjustments you've had to make with COVID-19.
Well, Main Street's, a lot of people might not know what Main Street does, but they do know the events that are downtown. And so Friday Night Live concerts are something that we put on starting in June through September. The first Friday night, we'll do a free concert downtown. And Jazz Fest is another event that's been going on for a long time. That's a Main Street sponsored event, and we had to cancel both of those. We were going to focus on the students in May and then have the professional jazz bands in October. So sadly, we had to cancel those. But celebrate Christmas. We have the Christmas tree lighting. The courthouse has a giant Christmas tree that they purchased a couple years ago, and Santa comes. So we're still trying to figure out how to do that this year. And then I know you wanted to talk about the Saturday market. So that's another a way that we can support locally owned businesses, farmers that can come and they sell their produce on the square.
Talk about how that works in terms of them working through you all and just the basic logistics.
So we've got over 50 vendors. It's a huge market that's set up around the courthouse, and they're starting in June all the way through September, which I'll go ahead and say this has not been released anywhere. We're probably going to extend it through October for the first time. And the vendors are spaced out this summer, and we are doing everything to keep people safe with masks and stuff, but they sell locally grown produce, and then some of them sell like foods that they make, breads and sweets and things like that, honey. So we're real proud of our market. It's been going on for 11 years. This year might be longer than that, but it's at least 11 years old. So it's a pretty large market.
Talk about on your end when it comes to what I would say city building. And as you alluded to, a lot of organizing, getting people on the same page, building the vision, the promotion. What are some of the lessons that you've learned doing this work that you say, these are some things that we've learned on our end that maybe would help other communities or other individuals that are working to try to enhance where they live? So what are just some lessons that you've learned in this process?
I've been in this job for 1 year now, and I have learned a lot just about the economic vitality of a community. And a small business owner, the reason that they're successful is because they're tenacious and they're focused and they're hardworking. But I like to remind all of our small business owners that they're going to be more successful if they work together. So getting to know their neighbor. So parking is always an issue with downtowns and around the country. You've got limited parking spaces. You've got to know your neighbor and work with them. Putting your resources together to publicize, to promote, doing events like Shop Small Saturday, in November, and getting ready for the holidays or tax-free weekend. The more that businesses can work with their neighbors and co-promote, like they've got customers come in, tell them about other stores that are downtown, the more successful they're going to be. And sometimes businesses will tend to forget that and just have silo vision, and only think about what's good for them. But it helps everybody in the community if you can really work together, which I think is the point of Main Street. It's to try to put all the businesses, try to have them work together and be cohesive in their message of coming downtown.
You mentioned parking being an issue for any downtown. What's something that you think, and maybe it's related to parking, but just in general, what's something that you think has been innovative or creative that you all have been able to do that has opened up new opportunities or just, made things more accessible or more visitor friendly?
Well, during COVID, when the shops were shut down, as soon as they opened back up, a lot of people, it was just this curbside pickup. I mean, that's what, thinking outside the box for one thing. Going back to your other question, so many of these small businesses have limited resources, so they're not marketing online. They didn't have websites that you could purchase their items, and then they had to start doing that. So just thinking outside the box during challenging times. So I will say, that has been great for a lot of our businesses. They've updated their websites and had more of a social media presence. But then the curbside parking, people being scared or not able to go into a store, it made restaurants, it made businesses rethink how they could still sell their items. So we worked with the city to have curbside parking set up instead of our 2-hour parking, which we have now. And then even now, we still have a few restaurants and some stores that have just a 15-minute parking space on like one on each side of the square to allow those people who are still nervous or who are immune compromised who can't go into a store. So trying to tailor to the different needs during a pandemic like this, you really have to think outside the box. But it has made us think like, okay, well, we could go to the city council and request that maybe we need to have a 15-minute parking on each side of the square next year. Even when the pandemic is over, we wouldn't have thought about that before. So
talk about your website and using that as a resource, the map. You've got a lot of, like I said, a lot of information there. So talk about the website and easy ways to learn more about everything that's going on.
I'll compare it to like in Murfreesboro, going to the mall or to the Avenue. People think of this, I can go there and I know all the stores and we see a map. Well, sometimes downtowns don't always have that. So we're really trying to do a better job of marketing what businesses are downtown. And our website, we have a business page, and that's not all the businesses that are downtown, but those are the ones that have joined Main Street. And so we're getting a map created that will be printable, that the stores will have, but will also be an online version that you can pull up. So if you're from out of town and you want to come to Murfreesboro, you could pull the map up and see the different categories of like boutiques and restaurants and things like that are downtown. So we've got that on our website, along with a hot link, so you can click on it and go to those websites of the individual stores to get more information about them.
Give me one thing, especially for an audience that's outside of the area, but one thing that you think everyone should know about Murfreesboro that they might not know.
Well, Murfreesboro has so much history, and I'm still learning, and I'm the least adequate to be telling stories, but it's just neat. There's so many houses. It's a neat place to come for the day, to drive around, to walk on our square. We've got so many murals that are like hidden treasures downtown. There was a new one that just popped up a week ago. It's a beautiful rainbow with the Tennessee circle on it. So it's a neat day trip for people who want to come and don't just come to a big city like Murfreesboro and go to the obvious places. You've got to get off the main road and come downtown and visit the mom and pop stores. And they're just very creative and friendly business owners. So it makes for a fun day to get away.
Absolutely. Talk about Taste of Rutherford and some of the other kind of pieces in terms of just highlighting the area and the work and being able to plug in as well.
We were excited to get to have Taste of Rutherford. We had to, again, think outside the box, because usually it's at someone's house. And so the city, we're a big partner with the city and the county, and we took advantage of Cannonsburg Village, which is just right downtown, as beautiful little, it's a quaint place with all these little cottages from pioneer days. And so we took advantage of that area to highlight the restaurants, most of which were all downtown. We had over 15 to 20 restaurants that just did a tasting. And so we just changed the way we did it. Food was prepackaged, gave picnic boxes, and people social distanced and walked around, and the symphony played. But it was a neat way. I would encourage anybody who's listening to this, who's especially a nonprofit, who's trying to still raise needed funds. You can still do things. I know a lot of people are doing online virtual events, and that's great. So really thinking outside the box, and people who are listening to this who maybe have supported a nonprofit in the past and they're not getting to do an event as usual, I would really encourage you to still support those nonprofits. Even if you can't physically go to an event and you think, oh, it's virtual, still give your money and support them, because I know the Center for the Arts is downtown in Murfreesboro, and they've not been able to have any plays, and they don't know when they're going to, but we need to support organizations like that that really add to the cultural enhancement of our community. So we
Yes.
were thankful to get to have Taste of Rutherford, though. It was a great success.
Well, and that's great advice on your end, both in terms of one, still pouring in and helping the nonprofits and allowing them to continue it and make it through this difficult time. At the same time, thinking creatively about ways that you can continue to still bring people together, either in a virtual environment or in a safe environment, to be able to still do what you need to do to connect, collaborate, and ultimately fund the mission to do what you need to do. Wrap up and talk about website, social media. Where all do we go to obviously kind of access everything and just be in the know?
Well, for us, if you want to know more about downtown in Murfreesboro, you can go to our website at mainstreetmurfreesboro.org. But I would give this piece of advice to anybody who wants to support a small business. Follow them on social media and make a comment or share their post, and figure out ways to support them, either buying online or just giving a shout out. If you do go to that store, take a picture of it. We have learned through this pandemic that the social media is where it is. And so we really need to help these small businesses just get the promotion out there. So I would encourage people to do that. And they can get more information about businesses on our website.
Well, Sarah, thank you for all you do, you and your team. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.